gentlemen, welcome back to HMP. Get your mustaches on right, because this week we're covering the first 4 episodes of the second season of Invincible on Prime. I'm your host, Adam Portress, and joining me today, he's an a-hole. How is that news? Please welcome the Hartford Hellion, Sweet Chauncey Kovacs from the internet.
Wow, what an intro, Adam Portress. That guy's a pro.
And he's about as fun as eating a light bulb. Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear from another universe, and in this one, I'm the bad guy.
Oh, he's the worst of the guys, everybody. But you know what's not the worst is Invincible. That is on Prime. Used to be called Amazon Prime, but for some reason, they don't want you to know that the $100 you pay also goes for television streaming. Let me ask you this, boys. If you didn't get the free shipping on the Prime, would you get the Prime as a solo standalone unit at this point?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, because I think most anything that, like as far as a subscription to Prime Video, you can just go on and buy a la carte for the small amount that I use it.
Yeah. Yep. I will say this, though. One thing that I was kind of surprised about with watching this show this week is obviously with Prime and everything, the terms of service have changed a little bit. And so now we have commercials and things.
That threw me for a loop.
You can pay a little bit more. But I will say this. I think the commercials were not too bad because they showed me a couple things on Prime that I'm like, I don't know that I'd mind watching that. That might be actually something decent to watch. And I think if they go down routes like that, instead of doing like, your dog can also, eat this, that, and the other, or whatever, just pump out ads for the stuff that's on your show. Make me want to watch your Prime more, because a couple of those commercials did make me go like, oh, there may be a couple things on Prime that I might actually want to watch instead of just getting, tube socks in the mail in 2 days quick. That's just me.
I saw some quinoa that I liked.
The Prime service, it kind of is the delivery service. It's kind of a miracle that it still works.
Yeah.
Especially as well as it works. Like the distribution chain of Amazon is just incredible. It works better than any other distribution chain. And I don't know how they do it, because they treat their workers like complete garbage. So I don't know how it works, but they're making it work.
Yeah. Eventually, we're going to have robots. It's all going to be some robots delivering your stuff going bleep, bloop, bleep.
They do have drone deliveries in some of their larger markets.
They say that, but I don't know that I've ever really truly seen any of those. And first of all, who's receiving them? How are they receiving them? Are they helipads
You're
on
not
top
getting
of
robot
your crap?
delivery in York?
Damn it. I knew I was doing something wrong. I didn't sign up for the emails. That's my problem. Every time you got to sign up for an email, and then Gmail goes, I'm just going to go send it to the spam file because you haven't been opening on it on a regular basis. All right. I'm getting
where
mad.
I live, they just strap your thing to a couple of hungry pigeons.
Just let them go.
It's like you can pick up your delivery somewhere at the park.
Somebody'll get it eventually. All right, but today we're talking Invincible. They dropped the first 4 episodes a couple weeks ago and everything. They're not doing them all at once. They're kind of going week by week, right?
No,
they're going chunks.
They dropped 4 and then several months, and then they're going to drop the next 4.
Okay, maybe I just read dates on them wrong or something like that. But so they're not doing the full season.
The next chunk drops March 14th.
Okay, so yeah, so it's. I will say this before we kind of get into everything. I kind of like this.
Yeah, I was going to applaud that release strategy myself.
I think that's really good. I think it can kind of separate these things out. I think it will also, if they intelligently do it, will make us less downtime in between seasons and stuff like that. So while, we're watching that second half of the second season, they can be working on the first half of the next season. And so, we get a lot less downtime in between these things, but not so much downtime. I'm going to go ahead and point this out right now. Not so much downtime so little downtime as we have over with, Disney Plus and everything, leaving us to the point where we're like, okay, can you pump the brakes a little bit? We got a little too much. We don't need to see all this all the time. So hopefully we don't go down there. Before we get to talking about Invincible, though, we do want to say a big, giant thank you to the people that support this show over at patreon.com/HMP. Those awesome people get the pre-show, the post-show, the Dinger Zone. And this week on the Dinger Zone, everybody, my goodness, we have a giant, lovely tribute to the late, great Carl Weathers. Carl Weathers just passed. And, I don't know what you know about this show, and it's connected to some guy named Sylvester Stallone and what that guy has to do with Carl Weathers. But, so the guy looms large in our hearts for a whole bunch of reasons. And we want you to check that out over at patreon.com/HMP. Join up at whatever degree you feel like this show is worth. If we disappeared on a Monday, if we were not here, what would you do to get it back? Would it be $1? Whatever that is, send it our way. Get yourself some more content at the same time. We really appreciate that. And if you can't, just go onto the iTunes, drop us a 5-star review, aka Humdinger.
Humdinger.
We really appreciate that. And thank you so much to you guys. Oh, and by the way, there are links in the show notes and stuff for everything. Somebody bought a I made this shirt forever and a day ago, and someone actually bought my other pair of pants, or a short-legged pants shirt. I forget what the words say on it, but short-legged pants were the theme, and someone bought it. I don't know who bought it, but all of a sudden it was just like a short-legged pants shirt sold. I was like, what? An extra $2 my way. What a glorious internet the internet is. So click the notes in there and stuff, and you never know what you might find down there in the what do you call them? Show notes. That's what I'm looking for. All right, let's get into it, boys. Here's the IMDb plot for Invincible. As we know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do, and it's. All right, they put this in for the first season. It is what it is. An adult animated series based on the Skybound/Image comic about a teenager whose father is the most powerful superhero on the planet. No good. Created, of course, by Robert Kirkman, Ryan Otley, and Corey Walker. Those are the comic book fellas. Let's quickly kind of just hit season 1. I was surprised, and having been, not a person who read the comic, I was aware of the comic. It was one of those ones that you would always kind of see in the store. Had a very specific look to it and everything. So you always your eye always kind of drawn to it because of the colors and whatnot. But I never really read any of it, so I was not quite sure what to expect from that. And I was wowed by it and everything.
Well, I mean, it kind of surprised me that you didn't really dip your toe into it either, because it had so much Family Matters references going on.
No kidding. Yeah. If only I'd have known.
The thing that I am remembering about the comic, and Bruce, maybe correct me on this if I'm wrong, but it's during that phase of comic books when Invincible first comes out, where finally we are past that nihilistic, everything's trying to be Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen. Yeah. Like we're finally past that. Like we get past, because I mean, it was like almost 30 years of that. And then finally the comic book creators got together and were like, okay, it's time to move on. And this is the first comic of its kind that I remember where it's like, this is not a nihilistic comic. However, it is as bloody and as it can be as offensive as anything you've read, but it's not. It doesn't think that the world should burn.
I feel like it represented a move away from superhero deconstruction and into actual comic book trope deconstruction.
Yes,
which is a grander, in my opinion, it's like a wider view, and I think that's why it appealed to me.
Yeah, me too.
I think that it succeeded at doing what the Boys comic didn't do for me. And I'm not talking about the Boys show, which I like better than the comic, but as much as I like Garth Ennis, I feel like what the Boys comic was trying to do, Invincible succeeded at. That's my 2 cents worth.
Totally agree with you.
And
it's also just smarter. I mean, it's a smarter book.
How do you think, like, as far as like your first season and everything, how do you like, what were your thoughts on just as far as like transformation, if you will, from, book to screen and everything? How close are we staying to stuff? Are we loosey-gooseying it up? What do you
my recollection is that it's holding pretty closely, but I also know that Sean's read more of Invincible than I have.
To me, it holds pretty close. They drop some stuff that you don't really need. They hit hallmarks that I'm shocked that they did. And it has that same feeling of a good Marvel movie where, look, this is not the same thing that the source material is, but it does feel like it is, And that's kind of where I am with the cartoon versus the comic book, where it's not exactly what they put on the page, but I don't want that. I want it to be its own thing. Just give me the feeling of that thing.
Yeah, that's just lovely.
And I think that the show does that quite well.
Well, if that wasn't enough, let me sell everybody on this next first half of the second season of Invincible because this sucker's got everything. All of your favorite characters are back, and the voice cast on this sucker is unbelievable. You got Steven Yeun, who, by the way, I always want to slag off as a so-so actor for some reason, but that dude keeps delivering in every single thing he is. I don't know why I think that way about him. I do, though. Sandra Oh is back, and in a show that she has no business being in. She's too good, and this show treats her too well. It's like they decided to do the opposite of what every type of this character is regularly portrayed. I don't know. Sandra Oh, who do you owe money to? Is it the mafia? Is that what's going on here? We got Zazie Beetz, another actor I keep liking in everything I see her in. Walton Goggins delivering a character in a very Walton Goggins and very not Walton Goggins way, and that's pretty sweet. Mark Hamill there, exact same thing for him. Seth Rogen. Well, Seth Rogen's being Seth Rogen, so there you go. We got Jillian Jacobs, who still hasn't returned my phone calls. What gives, baby? Come on. We got Kevin Michael Richardson. If you don't know that name, step off. Phil Lamar, don't know, step off. Uncle Ruckus shows up, no relation, don't know, step off. Mr. Krabs is here. You can also step off if you don't know him. Optimus Prime, just leave. It's over. If you don't know any of that stuff, just leave. You're gone. Jason Mantzoukas is being exactly who you paid him to be. Surprise narration by Paul F. Tompkins. Music by Radiohead. Matter of fact, we got two of what I'm calling Paul Thomas Anderson music montage videos in this. I'm here for it, though. J.K. Simmons shows up in around episode 4, and guess what? He impregnated a bug lady. But that's not the most fantastical part of this whole adventure, because you know who else is in this show? Reginald Val Johnson. His name is on the high school, and he gives the commencement speech. What more could you ask for? This show's got everything.
Beautiful. Beautiful, Adam. Beautiful.
That first of all, when they cut over to the thing, and I didn't even read the name on the back of the thing. I heard the voice, and I'm like, you got to be putting me on. And God bless Amazon for their little X-ray vision thing. I love that crap where you can just pause and go, what the hell's going on here? And they go, boop, 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 boop. Here's all the people. Here's the music that's playing in it. Totally awesome. And to see his voice, to hear his voice, and then see not only Reginald Val Johnson just depicted as he is, or you know, a cartoon character in his greatest likeness of what Reginald Val Johnson would look like. The high school is named after him. Why? I don't know, but maybe I don't want to know why. Maybe I just enjoy and love it because it's just gloriously good to me. But that was the highlight of this. I love these 4 episodes. Don't get me wrong, but this was the part where I just kind of just squealed with joy.
Well, you know, I think that one of the very nice touches on the show and in the comic book is how much fun Kirkman is having with the names of things, whether it's your heroes, whether it's the name of towns that you're dealing with, planets you're dealing with, or high schools that you're dealing with. You know, I think I mentioned this previously with season 1 Invincible, but it's just, there's so much fun to be had watching this show. I don't know what it is about season 2, but you know, season 1, it was kind of impactful, and I had people asking me about it. Like, hey, should I watch this show? It looks pretty good. And, you know, just out in the real world. And I'd say, oh yeah, it's great. You should watch it. That isn't happening this year. And I'm not entirely sure why that is. But it seems like the bloom is off the rose of this show a little bit, and I don't necessarily know why, because to me it's just as great as it's ever been.
I feel like season 1 kind of snuck up on a lot of people too, so it does have that impact. And those people who were talking about it and asking about season 1 now know it and understand it well enough that maybe it just doesn't come up in conversation. Mm-hmm. And I also think we're in this post-social media world where people just aren't feeling the need to talk about their entertainment like they did 2-3 years ago.
True.
Or even so, just outside of everything, because we have that, save for a very small handful of things, we don't have the kind of water cooler culture around, you know, properties like this, or you know, most even television shows, frankly. Save, like I said, save for a handful of things, like when you're
other than like Vanderpump Rules, nobody talks about.
But like your Game of Thrones and stuff like that will have, you know, some people talking and stuff like that. But like as far as like regular kind of things, it is we're in a different world now, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But that's a shame too, because this to me feels the same, yet it also feels like we're doing a lot more different than we were doing in the first season.
Well, he's expanding, right? He's expanding the universe, which at times can feel like you're like homework watching it. And this show does that very deftly, I think. So did the book. So did the comic book.
And it all fits with the comic books vibe of taking down tropes. But at the same time, doing the multiverse thing right now, it feels really like a lot of people, I think, are kind of sick of multiverses. That might be part of why this isn't getting the same kind of reaction. But I will say that the beginning of the first episode had me a little like wondering if I had missed something or if I'd forgotten the first season way more than I thought I had, because I was really not catching on to what was going on there at the beginning, where we see Invincible and Omni-Man working together to oppress the world.
Yeah.
I really thought maybe I had missed, like I was supposed to have interpreted that ending differently than I did. And then, when we find out it's a multiverse scenario, it all clicked and I felt kind of stupid, but it did a pretty good job of tricking me, I guess is what I would say. That that's what I think they wanted to do, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I had that same experience when I was working at the movie theater when the second Doctor Strange came out, and like I'm by myself. I start the movie up in the booth and everything, and I'm like, all of a sudden, like they open up, and I'm like, what is this? We're like halfway into the movie or something. I'm not sure. It was the multiverse thing, so it was another Doctor Strange. Because I'm like, they are in the middle of an action scene. How is this the first 2 seconds of the film? And it's like, oh, okay, that's a whole different ball of wax here. And I like what they did. To me, you're right, Bruce. It's what kind of caught my attention and kept me going in within that first episode is them going, or at least in my brain going, what's going on? I'm not sure that I quite follow, because you watch the recap and it tells you enough, and you get to that point and you're like, okay, I think I got enough little bits in my head here. I remember what season 1 was about. And then we roll into season 2 and you're like, that's not exactly what you just showed me, but I'm going to ride along with it. And then when you figure it out, it works. But funnily enough, it doesn't feel like, as far as multiverse and stuff, it doesn't feel like we're just squeezing the hell out of it or just ringing the bell super loud. Like, I don't even know that we even say the word multiverse more than 2 or 3 times. I don't even know if we say the word.
I think they just say alternate universe.
Yeah. So like you're close, but not.
We know there's multiple universes, so that's a multiverse.
But yeah, surprisingly, but it doesn't feel, like I said, it doesn't feel derivative. I'll just at least put it that way. And the thing that ultimately, when you look
Rick
at
and Morty with the Council of Ricks, where they have all the angstroms.
Well, and I almost said that it's not, but it's also so everything at the exact same time. When I was watching this, there was just little points where you're like, oh, okay, so we're clearly, this is yet another deconstruction and thing, because I forget the name of the character, but we'll just, for lack of a better word, Seth Rogen's character shows up at the end of season 1 in this one. Alan, that's right. He's got a whole episode with his name on the title. I don't know how I forgot it. With Alan there, what was I going with this? I don't remember. I was just trying to remember the guy's name. It's just I don't remember. I'll come back to it. I'm sure. I just got jacked up with the guy's name.
Introducing him at the end of season 1.
And yeah, we didn't like. You're not quite sure who exactly this person is, and then watching it, and you're just like, okay, we're clearly doing Green Lantern here. Obviously, we're rocking Green Lantern, and then later on with what's the name of the dog? The Seance dog is clearly Doctor Strange. Like it's. I love how it's, and again, what I like about it, and this is the thing that I liked about the Marvel or the Ultimate books and everything. It's taking the stuff that we know, putting new spins on it, and just doing different things. This is taking all of those like silly tropes that you obviously know, but it's delivering those. I don't want to say it as in a unique and different way, because it's the same but it's different. It's what we tell people we want with all of these things. Give us the same but yet different.
Sean, I don't know if you remember our conversation from season 1 very well, but we mentioned that they had substituted a different comic book character for Science Dog.
Yes,
yeah, we wondered why they did Science Dog and not Seance Dog, but I guess at some point Kirkman or some of his associates said, you know what, it was kind of ridiculous. Why didn't we just use Seance Dog? Because now they've course corrected, and it's like Armin Tanzarian of Seance Dogs.
Yeah.
I like the idea of the character who the alien shapeshifter that comes down and just can't quite get it, Just
I
talking with
love that like C plot. I mean, it's way down the list of plot, and so far it feels like it's not going anywhere, but I'm sure it'll pay off in the end. But I'm loving that, like, so easy to ignore part of the story, but at the same time, it's so much fun. Hello, I'm a normal human person. I'm going to run on a stationary platform.
And the fact that we've got, Ben Schwartzman, John Ralphio doing the voice just doesn't, that just helps it in every way, shape, or form. You're just like, I know who this character is.
I gotta say that I only knew him, probably 10 years ago now. I only knew him from Parks and Rec. And so I thought that it kind of was like a Keanu Reeves, like, cast the guy that the character is most like, like Bill and Ted kind of a thing. But he is so not that person in real life that when I started seeing him pop up in other things, I was like, oh, that guy's actually way better than I gave him credit for. I've got to stop bagging on that guy. He's pretty great.
He'll always be Sonic to me.
Sonic. So Bruce, let me ask you this. This is a question. Yes. This is an odd one that I had while watching this. All right. So Seth Rogen's Alan character, Alan the alien, has one eyeball. Pluses and minuses of a creature having one giant eyeball. Also, do you think a tear duct is on either end, both ends? I got a lot of odd eye questions.
He's going to need a lot of coverage for tears. So I'm guessing minimum one on each end, but he may even have like a couple in the middle too, like 4 of them just all stationed around the corners or something. But I can't think of any situation where one eye is advantageous, which is why you don't really see any one-eyed creatures occurring in nature.
Yeah. If it's as big as it is too, do you think it's got like more, like, I feel like it's got to have like a fisheye sort of effect on it to where you can probably see way more? That's my guess.
It's wide angle, but no depth perception.
Yeah, he doesn't really, you don't need any of that depth perception. That's, by the way, is there a scientific word for like your eye boogers or crusties or something like that? That's something I was curious about when I was writing this question. I'm like, do we have an eye booger or crusties?
Mattering's just the closest you're going to get.
That's freaking boring, dude. That's no good.
Yeah, eye boogs is way better.
Yeah.
But yeah, one eyeball, I can't see the advantage of that.
No good there. But again, I love the idea that that this is basically just like, yep, that's Green Lantern. Shut up. I love how all the people, I forget the name, the Omni-Man's race, whatever their race is.
Viltrumites,
that's right. I love how all the men have mustaches. It's fantastic. Mm-hmm. It's just
you look kind of like a Viltrumite. I never thought about that.
Listen, you do what you can. But I loved it. It's one of those things where it's just like, it doesn't make any sense. There's no good reason for it, but there's something about it that kind of works.
It's fun. I mean, that's the reason why, right? Is specifically because it's just a fun thing. And so now whenever you see a mustache in the Invincible universe, you're like, is that guy Viltrumite?
Yeah, it's got to be at that point, or at least that's they could have a good red herring game, of course.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a mustache. I've had this mustache since I was 14 years old.
Oh man, the Viltrumite lady's hair being like a razor sharp whip was kind of a nice twist.
Very cool. I don't know if I've seen specifically that, but like there's been close things to that, of course, in like martial arts movies and stuff where I don't know that it's necessarily always connected to a hair. It's connected to some sort of rope or things like that. But very cool.
So effectively, why are they limiting it to the ladies? Like some of the dudes could have deadly mullets. I mean, that's seeming like a really good weapon not to be using if you could.
Their neck muscles are too thick for the guys. They can't whip it back and forth.
I love the fat, strong guy, like the bald and chubby guy that was a Viltrumite, that was kind of a general or whatever. We need more chubby guys flying around with super strength.
Just give me the ability to fly, please. That'd be lovely. So again, another thing that like, if you write it down on paper, it doesn't feel like it should or would work at all. But with the mom, her whole arc and everything is fantastic. You think that you would hate it. You would think, oh, why would I want to sit around with, this woman who's going through an odd grieving process for a man that left, all of these things that sound like in a superhero thing, this would be the thing that you would exercise from this toot sweet because no one would care. But boy, do you care. It's done. I find those scenes wildly compelling, and it's like
I find
can't
that to
believe
be
that.
my favorite part of the story in these 4 episodes, like what she's dealing with and going to the support group, and then basically getting alienated from a place where she was hoping to find some acceptance and comfort. I mean, her whole arc there is the one that really has me going for the story. I mean, the action and stuff is nice with the other things, but her story is the one that has me curious about how is she going to end up.
It's the balance of all of it. That's what I like, because like you had the dramatic part over there. There's plenty of action and stuff, and a lot of the just gross
And
stuff
we've
with
got
people's heads exploding and eyeballs popping out and all the fun stuff that you want to see in there. But there's dramatic moments where just a single non-powered superhero character has a meltdown in a kitchen.
and I'll say, they really opened season 1 with a bang, but 4 episodes in, season 2 seems to be significantly less gory than season 1.
Well, they're setting everything up. I mean, these first episodes here, the entire thing is set up, which is great. I love that they took their time. I love that the fallout, the aftermath of what happens at the end of season 1, instead of cut to more of the same. Like, I really like that about the show, that they trust, one, the source material, two, themselves enough to know we can make a really fantastic story here. You're just going to have to trust us. And I do. I think that when it comes to the plotting of this show, when it comes to the pace of this show, they kind of understand, like, oh, there needs to be repercussions for everything that happened at the end of season 1. And there is. And it's fun to watch for a bit, like, I wouldn't say, your 14-year-old boy, your 13-year-old boy isn't watching season 2 so far and going, man, still my favorite show. That's definitely not happening.
Not for your average average 14-year-old for sure.
Right. But if we, once we start getting into the second block of this season, this is when things are going to start heating up. And then there will be, what is that called again? Oh, right. Stakes, which is where comic book movies have been running into a brick wall, is that we don't know anything about these characters at this point that they keep throwing at us, and no one cares.
They also understand the value that seems to have been lost for a while of each character having different arcs instead of everybody having one big arc together.
Right.
I'm really kind of filling out, liking the way that Robot is filling out having his new human form to be around in instead of the blob that he started out as.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Monster Girl, how old is she again?
She's supposed to be in her 20s.
I was about to say, I thought that's 20s.
That's what I thought, but I couldn't remember. It's like every time she transforms into the monster, it makes her a little bit younger or something, so she doesn't age.
Yeah.
Because I'm like sitting here exploring out, because I know Robot is older than his body looks, and I was pretty sure she was too, but I just needed some reassurance, because that whole dating thing, it's a risk they're taking there, but it kind of makes sense. There's this show I was getting advertisements for that was on like Discovery or something, I don't know, but there was I don't know, she's about 19, 20 years old, and she looks like Monster Girl. I mean, she looks like 11 or 12. And I can't remember her name or the name of the show, but it was like her talking about the difficulties of dating, the obvious difficulties that the only people that are interested in you are either too young for you or way too creepy for you.
Yeah, skivos.
And, I kind of like that with Robot, that he intentionally built a younger looking body so it doesn't raise eyebrows when he's dating Monster Girl.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. And then, of course, we've got something going on with Rexplode, like actually discovering maybe he has feelings after all. And then, kind of get some insight to Duplicate, which is a character that I really wasn't thinking would ever get any meaningful development. And all of a sudden we're hearing the reason that her and Immortal kind of share this weird, bizarre death cult that they're in.
Yeah. Yep.
I thought that was a really interesting idea of like, my clones have died, ergo, in a sense, one way or form or another, I have also died so many times, and, Immortal can die and I guess come back. I guess those are the powers. But an interesting thought. And it's like, it was like that first time when you hear, I feel like, God, it feels like Whedon probably had to have written that part in the X-Men where, Wolverine talks about his claws coming out. It's like, does it hurt every time kind of thing. Like, that's like tiny little nuggets like that are always just enjoyable to me.
Who thought we were going to see Bobby Hill become suicidal?
I'm glad I'm not the only person looking at this character just going, is this an adult Bobby? What's going on?
It's 100% intentional too, because on King of the Hill, Bobby's favorite comic book was Invincible. And it was just a clear parody of Invincible. So this is a definite reference to that. I mean, Kirkman was aware that Invincible was featured on King of the Hill.
That's friggin' awesome. I love that. But I love the Ex Machina moment that he's got where he's just like, all right, let's see if I'm a real boy. And he bleeds, he bleeds.
Blade,
yeah, that's what's so great about it, because he bleeds and he's like, oh, thank God. But then looks down at the knife and is like, well, the knife is jacked up, though. What does that mean? So, and again, not knowing nothing about nothing, I'm excited
Bobby Hill
about it.
And Walt Goggins, too.
Yeah, that's another. Walton Goggins not like leaning in fully to his normal skeeviness.
I love that guy, too. Yeah.
And he's one of those dudes. How long has he been doing this, by the way? Do we know? Is he one of those that's like been secretly doing this for 40 years, or is he like, we've only really known him in the last 20?
Are you talking about acting?
Yeah, just acting wise.
Let me look it up.
Because
I thought that wasn't he in House of 1,000 Corpses?
I don't think, maybe you're thinking Bill Moseley?
No, Bill Moseley I know was there, but maybe it was the sequel then, The Devil's Rejects. He did something, one of those early ones, and I feel like if you were doing a whole lot before then, you probably weren't doing his role in that, because he's just like a sheriff's deputy.
Yeah, and obviously the Shield was the big thing that kind of popped him off for everybody, and I think that's what everybody was like, oh, this guy.
I've never seen that one, so I can't comment.
Oh man, that is where I'm fairly certain that is where Skeevy Walton Goggins was born, on the set of
I thought he was
of
on
the Shield.
Justified. He got pretty skeevy.
Listen, he had to have started on the Shield though, so
he did. Yes,
okay.
Both things are correct.
I've never seen the Shield,
so yeah, I guess it's just one of those. Hey, that guy looks like he'd be real good at this.
So
he was in the next Karate Kid. He has been doing this forever.
Okay. So yeah, he gets his start in 1990. His first really big thing is in 92. He's on Beverly Hills 90210. But I mean, he's in Mr. Saturday Night, In the Heat of the Night, Forever Young. Like, he's in a bunch of stuff in the early 90s. I mean, he's been around forever. It's just that he didn't like break out until the Shield.
Yeah.
And he was in House of 1,000 Corpses, but he'd been acting for
there you go
13 years by then.
Yeah, like I said, it's probably just a whole bunch of small parts and little things, but because he's got a good face, he got a good character actory face and everything, and like you feel like you could put him in a whole bunch of
I think he's
roles.
Got a unique look. Is that fair to say? Like you remember he's at least that guy if you don't remember his name. Well, I'm looking at his credits, and In the Heat of the Night, a show I never watched, he played 1, 2, 3, 4 different characters. Like, there's no way you're not realizing that's the same guy, right?
That's all those shows back in the day, though, man. You were on, you could be
if I was
5
a
different.
diehard In the Heat of the Night fan. They call us night sweaters. Oh man, I would have been complaining for reusing him and not just making him one character.
Night sweaters. Now, Sean, you said your daughter had like a problem with the show, like the way the show looks or something.
She thinks that at times with the show you can see where they're cutting corners, and she has a problem with how cheap it is sometimes. And she's right. I mean, you can tell from time to time, like, oh, wow, this is where they're saving money right here.
I don't know if you recall in season 1, I said it looks like what you would call in comic books house style art.
Yes,
where any artist could come in and do it. It's not stylized at all.
Right. And her biggest problem was with the Adam Eve special, where at the end of that episode, she could not get past the fact that Adam Eve creates a picture of her as a child with her mom, but she never spent any time with her mom. So how would she know what her mom's hair color was, like what her mom's face looked like? And she's not wrong. She's totally right. Like, because Adam Eve was given up as a baby from her birth mother. And so like she's totally right, but it's one of those things where it's like, well, sweetie, you gotta look past some things sometimes, like one of that. But she couldn't get past it, so she could not stand the Adam Eve special. That on top of the fact that like at times there's like shortcuts being taken. But when you grow up with Deke Entertainment, where everything is cheap, and He-Man has the same 15 like 15 things that he does every episode, animation wise, you learn to look past it. If you're past
Yeah.
a certain age, like, oh well, this is a cartoon, so this is going to be on the cheaper side.
We only have to make 11 minutes worth of new material every episode.
Right. It can't all be My Neighbor Totoro,
At least they're not doing the Hanna-Barbera where the same cactus goes by 14 times when you're watching Deputy Dog or whatever.
Now, I'll say this, despite some of those things and those being true, because there's a couple of shots where just like a lot of them had to do with cars and highways and stuff like that, where you're just like, oh, that's bad. That looks crap. But there are other shots and other times where it's just like, you guys spent so much time and effort, and I'd rather that be the case, whereas you can funnel that good stuff into the important things and leave a couple of the edges blurry. That's fine. I don't really care. But like when you can lay down a great action scene, and that is something that in this show has been fantastic, and I think something that a lot of superhero films could actually start watching a lot of these animated things and learning from them, because they are shooting action better in animation than superhero films are shooting action right now. They just are.
One thing I'll say though about the animation and using resources for animation, I feel like they went just a little too hard on the tongue kiss between Omni-Man and the Grasshopper.
I love how gross and weird it was, because it's just like that's how they do it on the planet, and you're like, oh, that's gross. Because it's, at the same time too, like imagine just seeing your father tongue kissing a bug alien lady that you just learned has your half brother. Like what? No, it's perfectly gross. I love it.
Oh man, that just threw me for a loop. I did not see what he sees in her.
I really liked the big kind of Omni-Man montage of him kind of flying out of everything, running away, coming up to this planet, the ship that's in distress and everything. Just that whole bit I loved. I thought that was just really, really great. Just the economy of storytelling and stuff. And you could have put in a whole bunch of other just junk in there, but you know what? You put in a song and just kind of worked its way around, and it's perfect.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's paced out really well. The thing that is strange to me is that, the first season of Invincible is basically like the first 2 or 3 trades. But where we are now, it's like we're in like trade 10 or 11. Like we're so far down the road now. It's kind of weird. I mean, it's still great. I'm still very pleased with the show, but it's very strange.
Takeaway from it is Kirkman wanted to be proactive so he didn't have another Walking Dead on his hands. I think season 3 they wrap this up and it's a finished project to move on to the next one.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think that should be the goal for a lot of these things is let's come in, let's have an idea of where we're going, set our sights on, that North Star and go in that direction and finish her out. Just to have it be a thing. Instead of just kind of guessing at it, and then you end up in that lost situation where you've gone through all of this mess, and then you get to the end and you're like, well, didn't stick the landing on that one. Kind of a bummer. I don't want this to be that. So like, you're right. Get it going as much as you actually need. And I think that's, again, one of the smart things that they're doing here is give us this first chunk, make us wait a couple of months, make us want it more. And then we'll do another one. Then we'll do another one of these episodes, and we're going to like it. I imagine, as much as we've been liking it so far. And I think that's a much smarter plan than kind of dumping 8 full episodes out at one time and then just going, hey, run at it, find out, get your stuff in there. And then in the fleeting world of the internet that we're in right now, it's just it's not working anymore. And like I said, it's funny because we're going back to this Prime, we're going back to seeing commercials and stuff like that. we're getting more and more like television, and I'd almost rather go back to television in a lot of ways, but not the same television that we've been seeing. I'm not saying I want to watch CSI.
I
or
like the on-demand
Criminal
aspect.
Minds.
I like the blending. But if you're going to put the ads in, I really like the Tubby model, the FilmRise model. That there's stuff out there for people that don't have to have 50 subscriptions to watch stuff.
Yeah, and if you do and I was thinking about this just the other day of like a couple of the because. Like Netflix and Hulu, a couple of those things have kind of run out for me and stuff, and so you end up dropping off those services. But a couple of the services that I don't knock off is just like your Criterion Collection, the Arrow. And again, you don't pay a ton of money for those, but I would rather much money go into those companies for people that actually care about movies and stuff like that, as opposed to Netflix, who just goes, "Here's another piece of garbage that we're ramming down your throat. Please watch." And then when nobody watches, they just discard it and throw it away. And then who cares? Like, and that's just sad to me that that's kind of the case, but it is.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's done.
Yeah, I wish that they would do at Netflix more of what they've been talking about doing, which is, just very specific programming for specific people. Because whenever they do the big general thing, they never get it right. Like I know that Squid Games was a big surprise to them that, oh my God, we have this massive hit on our hand and we didn't even know it. And so, even though that show should never have had a second season, they do.
Yeah.
And I think that everybody get ready to be disappointed with Squid Game season 2.
It's gonna suck so bad. It would have boy, what a one and done just maxi series that would have been, where you're just like, we sat down, we watched it, and we were all just like, wow, what in the hell is this? We're all blown away, and then we're just done with it. But no, we got to milk that cow until she's screaming,
and we're going to make an actual Squid game show.
So lame.
Ugh, well, yeah, why? Just why? Unless we're actually torturing real people, what's the point? Am I right?
I think they got sued because they did actually torture some real people.
I did remember seeing a Japanese game show back in the 90s or whatever, where they did all manner of things, like bury someone up to their neck in ice and then feed them ice cream. Thought that was funny. There was another one where they had them sitting on these, they were stationary bikes, and they had to drink a whole bunch of water or something. And there was a boxing glove that, as they pedaled and stuff, the boxing glove would come and punch them in the gut.
I thought it was going to punch him in the crotch.
Well, it's like they're trying to get him in the in the gut there, just to kind of make him pee and everything. So that was the goal: is don't pee in this wild, crazy Japanese game show. But they're like, let's make a season 5 of that and do it to people for reals.
So we'll call the universe that we saw in season 1 Universe Prime, Invincible Prime.
Okay.
We'll call
Universe
Omni-Man
Prime on Prime. Tell me you didn't come up with that. I tell you what, Bruce, you were on the board of Amazon.
Actually, it's like Superboy Prime is what I was thinking of. But anyway, so we'll call Omni-Man that we got to know in season 1 Omni-Man Prime, and it looks like Omni-Man Prime did they say he's not dead yet at the end, or he is dead?
No, he's not dead. No. They were going to execute him.
I thought at first he was dead, and they said maybe he's not dead. They got somewhere they can take him to take care of him. But I almost wondered if by take care of him, they meant exterminate him, because they more or less said he has to die.
No, they did. They did mention that they're going to put him up on trial. I don't know about trial, but definitely going to execute him.
We don't just hang people around here. We give them a fair trial first, then we hang them. Yeah, it's that kind of thing.
I say we kill him, then we hang him.
I say we let him go.
Brilliant. Again, one of those things that I continue to be surprised by this show. I thought, when you watch it and everything, oh, we have this idea, we think we know what we're doing, and they've subverted expectations. And I've been so proud of the stuff on Amazon that is zigging when we think that they're going to be zagging. And that's great stuff. Watching Gen V and having that be, actually refreshing and entertaining, it was shocking. Shocking that we got that. And the fact that we're doing a season 2 of this show, and I'll be honest with you, Kirkman, I give a little bit of more credit to, of course, but there's part of you that goes, am I just going to get what we got with season 1? And we do, but we don't. And again, that's what we want. Give me more of the stuff that I like, but also vary it up enough to where we go, oh, I see what's going on here. This is fun. Let's do the fun thing, please.
And again, I can't stress how much I appreciate that I only had to commit to 4 episodes to keep this going. Like,
It's
if they dropped all 8
nice.
at once, I might have just gotten bogged down and not even started, you know?
Yeah.
But I really like I like short chapters in a long book, and that's what this feels like.
But that's also one of the smart and just nice things about this show is that like each episode is approximately 45 minutes, but those one or two of them go over an hour or close to an hour, but you never feel like this thing is slogging. It is a fast 4 hours. You smash through this really good. And again, I think part of it is they really know how to help push the narrative within the show. We go from one thing to another. It feels lovely and just like you're on this nice stream. You go to this next one, you go to this next one. You're just going down that next rapid, and it's a pleasurable experience so far.
One
Agreed.
of the musical montages felt a little slow to me. Like I was not in the mood for that at that particular time. But other than that, yeah, it moves at a nice clip.
Karma Police a little too much for you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little. I was never a Radiohead guy, but I mean that's a good song. I think from them. I don't like a lot of Radiohead. It's just a little too.
Yeah. I'm one of those annoying people. If I hear somebody's a Radiohead fan, I say, "Oh, I'm a big fan too. My favorite song is Creep. What's yours?"
Oh my God.
And then they immediately don't want to talk.
That's not a good representation of their work. I'm more of an OK Computer kind of guy. That's how you sound, Radiohead fans. Sorry. Well,
yeah, but Creep was on the radio all the time.
it was on the air. Was it the story is it was like on the air so much or something, and everybody in England was all depressed and whatnot. So like people were like supposedly killing themselves. So they were like, "Bro, we're taking this off the
They said,
airwaves."
there's only one way to fix this, and out came Chumbawamba's Tub Thumper.
I get knocked down, and then the country turned back around. That's how the 90s
Yes.
worked, kids. All right, before we get to our final review here, we have to ask ourselves one very important question: is how this animated thing, good luck, relates back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone.
Why, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Oh.
Hello, Mr. Stallone. If I may take you on a trip way back to episode 477 of HMP, it was a simpler time. Way back to July of 2023. We're in the middle of Barbenheimer fever. New Zealand banned plastic bags, produce bags, plastic straws, and something called the war in the Ukraine was still ongoing. You know, I wonder how that turned out. And Edgar Rinkovic became the 11th president of Latvia, who's the first openly gay president of the EU. I always like to think of Latvia as the country that Dr. Doom rules, so I take great joy in calling Edgar Rinkovic Gay Doom. But also happening during episode 477 of HMP, we reviewed the Adam Eve one-shot special. And since the same Stallone connection is being used this week, I'll tell you what I wrote in case you somehow missed that episode. In an effort to stay fully transparent, I changed a bit of the wording because it was a bit clumsy. I also had to update a thing or two. I wrote, this week's Stallone connection is Phil Lamar, who voices the role sidekick on Adam Eve, but for the rest of his life, he will be known as Marvin in Pulp Fiction. In real life, Phil Lamar could save the president's life from assassination, and the headline would still read, Marvin from Pulp Fiction saves president's life. Thanks, Marvin, says President. Phil Lamar was once a cast member on the very difficult to watch Mad TV, but he transitioned nicely, moving from Saturday Night Live's ugly, stupid younger sister to voiceover work. And I know what you're thinking, Mr. Stallone. You're wondering if Phil Lamar has ever worked on a Star Wars. And the answer is yes. He was the voice of Bail Organa on the TV series Rebels, doing a damn good Jimmy Smits impression. It's good enough, in fact, that I thought it was actually Jimmy Smits, which is kind of strange because I was like, this better be Jimmy Smits. And it's weird to think I have such strong opinions on Jimmy Smits. In 2019, Phil Lamar worked on the video game Mortal Kombat 11, where he did the voice of Total Khan. That might mean someone to someone listening, but to me, it just sounds like his parents were setting him up for failure by calling him Khan. Wow, I really miffed that. It sounds like his parents were setting up for failure by naming him Total. But You're also in Mortal Kombat 11, Mr. Stallone. You voice your character of John Rambo, and I don't know how a Vietnam vet suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder stacks up in a fight against an ancient mythological dragon, but I'm going to guess probably not so good. I don't know what kind of money they were offering you, but in order for you to agree to it, I'm guessing you could probably buy about 3 different Carl's Jr.'s locations with the money you made for half a day's work. I only bring this up because I'm jealous, because I'm interested in investing in some Hardee's franchises. You remember the commercial when Paris Hilton was sexily eating a Hardee's cheeseburger? Who did they make that commercial for? Were there people who were on the fence about Carl's Jr. burgers and Paris Hilton took them over the top? How many cheeseburgers do you think Paris Hilton has eaten in her entire life? More or less than 5. And when the proletariat eventually takes down the billionaire class, do you think they'll give her a pass because she ate a burger in a commercial once? I have more thought-provoking questions just like these if you ever want to hang out with me, Mr. Stallone. By the way, I saw that you were hanging out with Henry Winkler recently. It looks like you guys were having fun, although it did look like Henry Winkler was doing most of the heavy lifting. I wonder if you two ever got around to talk about Richard Gere, who was also your co-star in Lords of Flatbush. And if his name did come up, what did you talk about? Burrowing rodents, maybe? Anyway, who am I to speculate? I'm just one guy. Hope to hear from you soon. Your pal, the Hartford Hellion.
Oh, that's Stallone, man. He's had a couple of nice things to say about the passing of Carl Weathers and everything. And here's the thing.
Did.
I saw the video, and I think we can all say that we know when Stallone is bullcrapping you.
Yep.
Because he's the man wears his heart on his sleeve, I think. And you could tell this actually was affecting him. He actually was feeling something in his heart, and you knew that Stallone was like a normal person. You're like, oh, thank God. Yeah. I don't have to sit here and watch him just go like, Carl Weathers was a great man, and I really appreciated him and loved him a whole bunch. I enjoyed all of the time with him. No, he had a little mist in everything. It was just like, oh, Stallone truly cares, and it's like that makes you feel good that we're celebrating Carl Weathers. Again, go over to the Dinger Zone episode and check all that out. Bruce, what are your we're not going to give a full Robin rating here, but what are your thoughts on our first half of season 2, and are you excited for his second half?
I don't get really excited about much anymore, but I'm willing to commit to the second half. It kept me going. Sometimes it's hard for series to just sustain a level of interest from season to season. A lot of times that sophomore season can be the make or break. And so far, I think they're making it. So positives. If you haven't seen these 4 episodes yet, go ahead and watch them. That way in March, you'll be all geared up for the next 4.
Yeah. Sean?
Yeah, I agree with just about everything Bruce said. I think when you have to watch more than 4 episodes of something in one sitting, it really feels like you have a part-time job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so to drop them the way that they've been dropping these episodes is really smart, because it didn't feel overwhelming to me at all. And like you said, Adam, the episodes fly, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the second part of this season. I hope that we can get a season 3 of Invincible. Do either of you know if they're already signed on for that?
Yes,
because I haven't.
They are.
My understanding is that after season 1, they went ahead and picked up 2 more seasons, and they're making them kind of simultaneously so that there's not like season 2 didn't go so good, so we're going to welch out on season 3.
That's great.
Yeah.
And if they continue to drop them in this fashion, where it's like here's 4, and then we're going to wait another 6 months, and then we're going to drop another 4, and then another 3 months, drop another 4. I like that.
You know what? Amazon basically, when it comes to their superhero stuff, is like the anti-Sony.
Mm-hmm.
Like their superhero stuff so far has been pretty damn good across the board. I can't think of anything that Amazon's put out where I'm like, wow, that is complete and utter garbage.
No, it's all pretty darn good, if not exceptionally good.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a wild swing, and to really, you're right, to juxtapose that to let's put it on Front Street to what Disney Plus is putting out. Amazon's hitting a lot more, out of the park than Marvel is, or Star Wars for that matter.
They're also casted a much wider net so that the superhero part is a smaller part of what they need for their success. They got
Yeah.
that Reacher money going around over there.
Hey, man.
Well, not only that, man. I mean, Amazon they could be making the most poor creative decisions of all time, and they could still dump as much money as they have been, and they would run out of money. To steal a line from Norm Macdonald, roughly 10 years after the Earth crashes into the sun.
Are you saying that they're a corporation that could afford to spend $1 billion for the rights of the table of contents to Lord of the Rings?
That's right.
That's precisely it. Yeah, they got enough money where they could throw away literally $1 billion on a Lord of the Rings thing that everyone looks at for 5 minutes and goes, "No, thank you."
Not for me. Not for me. That's what I hear about it. Is nobody wanted to straight up say it was bad. They were just all, it's just not for me.
Yeah, it's just like, no, thank you. I will take the 20-year-old film that I that I have loved for this long. Please let me go back to that. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Well, from what I understand, though, right, Papa really wanted that, right? Like, Papa was like, I need Lord of the Rings, right? I mean, that's why they did it.
I don't know. Money's the answer for everything, I would surmise these days. For me, I really like this show. I was surprised at how much season 2 felt like the same, but still fresh enough. We've got multiverse stuff going on, but it doesn't feel like we're being hit in the face and going, multiverse, you're going to see a bad version of Invincible now. Who gives a crap? I don't want to, don't go down that road. And it doesn't feel like that's the avenue that we're going down here. It feels very different and very unique. Small little nit here. I don't know that J.K. Simmons is delivering the best lines in so far.
Oh, wow.
I just like,
Hot take from Portrait.
There's part of me where it's just like, I know, and that's what pisses me off, because it's like, I know you're better than this.
It brings more enthusiasm to the yellow M&M.
Yeah, sometimes there's some line readings in this that I could point out and just be like, that sucks. I'd have been like, do that again. We need another one. By the way,
wow.
And I wanted to mention this in somewhere, like at least I had this thought, but I never really wrote it down. Do you guys remember when J.K. Simmons got ungodly buff for the role of Commissioner Gordon? What the hell was that about?
Well, because he thought that he was going to be a bigger part of that universe,
Batman,
right?
or something. I don't know what.
Have you seen the short film crash that was made before the feature length crash?
Mm-mm.
He's like in a t-shirt there, and he looked like really buff and ripped on that one too. It's like he was buff and then unbuff and then got buff again.
And listen, when they pay you enough of that Hollywood money, he's no Christian Bale though. Like, ain't nobody gonna beat that dude's record of fat, skinny, muscular, all around. He'll give you everything, and he's gonna chop off a limb at some point. I'm fairly certain.
What do you think that dude's heart looks like? Jeez,
he's all working overtime is what his sure shooting looks like, I would imagine.
Hey, if you work on lights, you'd describe him as heartless.
All right, that is it, everybody. Looks like we're going to be covering that second half of Invincible Season 2 come March, so keep an eye out for that and subscribe to this here podcast, why don't you? And by the way, we don't mention enough on the show, but this here program, if you don't have it on your podcatcher of choice, you don't have your phone or whatever thing next to you, we're also available on YouTube, man. So the audio for the show is up on YouTube, so go check that out. Give it a listen there and everything. Leave a comment, a like. If you want to go see a whole bunch of Indians be mad at Bruce, go check out the RRR podcast. The comment section for that's hilarious, because this man has no idea what he's talking about. So
man, if you want to, why don't we just take all of Bruce's, like, the things that like keep him awake at night? I know that Bruce brings that up all the time, man.
Oh, I know.
It's not that big a deal.
And Super Lopez, well, all the people are mad on the Super Lopez video because they thought it was thought it was the movie, and it's not that. It's like, hey, wait a second, this is not that. Though a couple of people have said that they were like, this is not the movie, but I did enjoy this podcast. I was like, okay, thank you. That's all,
very nice.
Mission accomplished as far as I'm concerned. Well, guess what? We got another mission for you kids next week. Join us back here because it is February. It's right around the Valentine's Day. So you know what that means. That's right. We're going back to Lone Wolf and Cub, baby. Everybody's been asking for it, and so we're going to be doing it yet again. Next week, we're talking about Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart in the Land of Demons. And if you had that on your bingo card, congratulations. It's available on the Criterion channel right now, and also Max, the one to watch for HBO. Check that out over there. and all that kind of good stuff, man. So we really appreciate that. In the meantime, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet? Any fantastical prizes that you're getting there, fancy boy?
Yeah, I am going to just take a moment to indulge in some self-aggrandizement because I don't do that very often. But Werewolf Fighter. Werewolf Fighter is an award-winning film. I'm now an award-winning filmmaker. The
he makes his wife say he's award-winning too.
Horror Film Fest. I won along with my son, who co-directed Werewolf Fighter, for best extended short. So everyone, the whole cast, the whole crew, everybody worked on the movies. Very proud of that. So we've taken a week to celebrate it.
He doesn't like to talk about himself very often, except for that's all he ever does.
Keeps it low key. Sean, where can you find more of Bruce's work on the internet?
Well, Bruce is also, he has a podcast called 30 Questions where Bruce and two other people, I don't know who that is, have a podcast where 30 questions are asked about some nerdy property, whether it be a comic book movie or a comic book TV show or a Star Wars TV show. And Bruce is really great on that show.
He's fantastic from what I've heard.
Guys.
That's where all the reviews say. That is it, everybody. Join us next week for Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart in the Land of Demons for Sweet Sean's and Kovacs from the internet. Bruce Leslie, I'm Anna Portress. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Evie.